All right, here's another example of kind of what we talked about in class. And I don't know if I'll make this a two-part video. That's possible just because of length. But finding the key points, first of all, with cosine, now again, there's a negative there, so that's going to mix things up again. But typically, a cosine function goes high, mid, low, mid, high. So it kind of looks something like that. All right. So I know my key points. All right. So my normal key points would be, let's see, 0. We always do our 90 degrees. So our quadrantal angles and 2 pi. And again, if you want to look at the unit circle and graph that, get your values. That's okay, or you can look at this, and I'm going to get a little thicker line. We'll switch to black, and I'm going to get a little thicker line. Okay, so I'm looking at cosine. All right, so my traditional output would be, 1, 0, oh, sorry, -1, 0, and 1. And again, if you know that it looks like a cup type thing, and it goes high, mid, low, mid, high, you can kind of get the numbers from there. All right, so if you're going to get your new key points, you have to understand what's going on. All right, so as far as what's going to impact your x, and again, if you need to really know what the phase shift is here. So I'm going to go ahead and factor that. So it would be 4 plus. All right, and I need to basically multiply this by 4 and 4 so I can pull this 4 out. That's my goal. So I get pi over 8 left. All right, so -3 cosine, and then the -1 would be there. All right, because I need to know that phase shift. All right, so what do I do to my x's? All right, so I need to fix my x's. And to fix my x's, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide by the 4 right there because that's messing up my input, which is my angle. So I'm going to divide by 4. All right, and then I have to deal with that phase shift, which is -pi over 8. Now again, I like to, since we're dealing with fractions, instead of dividing by 4, multiplying by 1/4 seems to make more sense. And then after you get that answer, you're going to subtract pi over 8. Okay, so all of these values right here, we're going to have to either divide by 4, multiply by 1/4, and subtract pi over 8. And that's going to fix all of our x values. Now, the next thing we have to do is we're going to have to fix all of our, well, that did change colors. Sorry about that. Why didn't it change? We'll just, I guess, do blue. All right, we're going to have to fix our y values. Now, y's are always nicer, all right, because the y stuff happens outside our function. So the first thing after we get a ratio right there, we're going to multiply by a -3 and subtract 1. So to fix these, we need to multiply by a -3 and subtract 1. All right, and that's going to fix all our y values. All right, so let's go ahead and do that quickly. I am going to erase this so we have some space to work. I'm going to just give it 2 seconds here. And we'll do the math for us. That's decent. Okay, and I'm not sure why it's writing so small today, but we'll give it a try. There's my y, so that's a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to take all these x values. So I have 0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. All right, and we said we were going to, multiply by 1/4. And then after we multiplied by 1/4, what were we going to do? Subtract pi over 8. All right, so times, well, 1/4, all right, minus pi over 8, times 1/4, minus pi over 8, times 1/4, minus pi over 8, times 1/4, minus pi over 8, and times 1/4, minus pi over 8. All right, so this is my rule, so to speak, because that's undoing the damage that the function basically did, or the transformation. All right, so if I look at this, this is 0, so minus pi over 8, so my new one is -pi over 8. Okay, so this is new. Okay, my next one, if I multiply these together, I get pi over 8, So that gives me pi over 8 when I multiply, and then I get a 0. So right now I can tell that my gap is pi over 8. So I'm going to just add pi over 8, add pi over 8, add pi over 8, add pi over 8, but we'll make sure the math works. Again, when you multiply fractions, that's pi over 4. So I get pi over 4. The problem is I need a common denominator, so I'm going to double and double. So 2 pi over 8 minus that is pi over 8. Here, when I multiply straight across, I get 3 pi over 8. So 3 pi over 8 minus pi over 8 is 2 pi over 8. And again, you can reduce that pi over 4 if you feel like it. Okay, this is 2 pi over 4 when I multiply. But again, I need a common denominator, so I'm going to double that and make it 8, and double this guy and make it 4. Then I can subtract and get 3 pi over 8. And again, notice I could see that adding pi over 8 right away from the beginning, so I could get it that way. All right, so that's to fix my x's. So now let's go back and fix our y's. And then let me erase this quickly. All right, so then to fix my y's, okay, to fix the y's, we decided we needed to multiply by a negative 3 and add a negative 1 or subtract 1, whatever you think of that. So I have 1 times negative 3 plus negative 1, 0 times negative 3 plus negative 1, negative 1, negative 3, negative 3 plus negative 1, and 1 times negative 3 plus negative 1. All right, so this is what a negative 3, debt and debt makes more debt. This is 0, right? So I get a negative 1. This is a positive 3. So if I have 3 and I owe 1, that's 2. This is 0, so I get a negative 1. And this is a negative 3, debt and debt make a negative debt. All right, now notice a typical cosine would go like this, but we have a reflection, right? So our new one should go like that. So do these answers make sense? So I should have low, then mid, then high, then mid, then low. So that seems to make sense. So if you look at these are the points that I would graph to make my new function. Now I'm going to make another video that shows you kind of the shortcut way of doing that.